Yes.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to this last session of this forum. As you have seen from the program, now we're going to close up the forum discussing a pressing topic, which is how here in Italy or in Chile, we have dealt with several issues that COVID has posed. So what we are going to do now, we will have several speeches from different professors, either from the Italian side or the Chilean side, which will talk about some peculiar aspects related to COVID. We will start with Sonia Perez. And Sonia, please, if you can come. And then we will have, we're following the program, then we'll have the speech from Donatella Strangio, and then the others, as you can see. And now I leave the floor to Sonia. Maybe I don't know if you want to introduce Sonia briefly, Eduardo.
Briefly, and this is going to be, as Maria Laura has just said, very important to see how we have coped. COVID has had an impact in every aspect of our working and personal lives. So it's going to be very important, the experience. So we're very happy that Pedro and Maria Elena from Catholic University will be joining us as well. And we'll try to get a picture of what has been the way we've dealt and learning from each other's experiences. So I'm very happy to introduce here Professor Sonia Perez from our faculty of the University of Chile's Social Sciences, and now the Vice Rector for Student and Academic Affairs. And Sonia has did her PhD here in Italy, so we've been very happy to be with her. And she knows every detail, so she's a local guide for all the Chilean delegation that came to Italy despite all the restrictions, because it's been quite a challenge. We can tell Pedro and Maria Elena later details of our adventure to get here. So we're very happy, and we are also very satisfied that the whole effort is very rewarding, because the Zoom is a wonderful IT tools have been wonderful substitute, but complementary tool, but nothing substitute the personal connection, and that's what we have made a very good effort to keep all these universities working together for the future. So, Sonia, please, thank you very much.
Thank you. Se puoi parlare un po' forte, se no si puoi togliere.
Mi tolgo le mascherine. Sì. Ok, grazie. I want to share my screen. Condivido lo schermo. Are you seeing my screen? Yeah?
Yes.
It's okay. Perfect. So, well, good evening. I have the difficult mission of making a kind of summary about the impact of COVID pandemic and the impact that it has had on our universities. What I will do is offer a structure of ideas that we have reflected on from Vice Rectory of Students and Community Affairs of the University of Chile. These initial ideas are a systematization of the experiences in the exercise of our university policies and the more or less planned strategies that we have articulated between the different vice-rectories. However, these ideas also represent today the reflections that we have shared between both countries in these two days of work. These are the three ideas I would like to give with you. First one, the deepening of the public mission of the universities. In a pre-pandemic world, this public mission consisted mainly of generating and delivering to the society the scientific and social knowledge, knowledge of the humanities, and cultural artistic development that society needs for its development. Bearing on the development of the country prompted us to insert ourselves in the territory to train the social actors who, we thought, in the future would support society through their professions, their service work. The insertion in the territories in the middle, we understood mainly through applied research, output, and innovation. Today, with the impact of the pandemic, we have understood that the territory is not outside, but inside the university. It has become clearer that before what we want to achieve in society, knowledge, development, we have to achieve it also within, in our community. And what we wanted to investigate outside, inequality, social risks, we have to investigate it now in our own institutional processes. We have to know what happens when education is not face-to-face. We have to know what happens when academic work competes with the other responsibilities of daily life, when laboratory research is no longer face-to-face. What happens when technical training is not directly related to its object of study? When surveys are always by telephone? When there is a little face-to-face interaction? When you manage without clarity of what is to come, and when you work alone without day-to-day team agreements? Investigating these processes of vulnerability will allow us to know what is useful for the country today to support its development. This will allow us to fulfill our public mission by working to reduce inequalities among our students and by supporting their university experiences. In turn, the relationship between knowledge and public policy and society makes universities have a less paternalistic relationship with society and more mediation role. That is, the university serves to validate the knowledge that circulates in society, distinguish its veracity, predict its effectiveness, and then propose the best public policy decisions. In the case of Chile, some universities participate in contributing to the government findings that guide decisions regarding management of the pandemic. The University of Chile has had special influence on public programs related to the approach to the mental health of the population, studies related to vaccines, institutional and political communication of information, and ways of doing contact tracing, among others. In turn, the decision of the state regarding the pandemic are critically analyzed and translated into social languages, supporting communication and giving meaning to the new patterns of behavior that society must change to combat the disease. Through its media, educational campaigns, the public university has managed to bring knowledge and politics closer to everyday practices. A beautiful example of this public function is observed in the ranking of trust of the institutions. This is a ranking that came out just 1 month ago, I think, in Chile. And you will see the institutions like radio, police, journals, a Catholic Church, universities have the first ranking, the first place of this trust of society. The latest survey points to universities as the institution that people trust the most within a wide range of other institutions. That is a mediating role that it's a learning to be treasured in the university. The university mediates between state, public policy, and society, since it positions us in one of the most central aspects of the new global needs. We strengthen social cohesion. Second idea, the greater complexity of knowledge. The complexity of the pandemic problem has led us to recognize the complexity of the knowledge we must generate to understand it. The transformation of the knowledge we generate and which we train is taking place, in my opinion, on 3 levels. First, an epistemological level, then ethical level, and pedagogical level. An epistemological level, the fragmentation of disciplines must advance to transdiscipline. That means interrelating knowledge. Manfred Max-Neef, Chilean economist and winner of the International Prize of Alternative Economy, pointed it out. To relate the disciplinary knowledge, to relate this disciplinary knowledge, we had to relate 3 things. The knowledge that describes the world, with those that tell us about how to intervene in the world, and the knowledge that finally tell about what to do, how to intervene in the world for. Today, if we continue to work along separate lines and do not do this vertical integration, what we investigate will not work. That means that we must not only do interdisciplinary work, but transdisciplinary work. That means insert ourselves in networks, work collaboratively and without national borders. And at an ethical level, transform education for inclusion and the non-reproduction of exclusions that the pandemic has given us. Meet the new excluded from knowledge. For example, women in the academic world and the poor in the student world. While some can take care of themselves by staying at home, others must still attend their jobs in conditions of exposure. While some can change their work to distance mode, others do not have access to the internet or computers. While some have been able to afford health insurance, others are undocumented and completely helpless. While some maintain their wages, others are unemployed. While for some access to medical care can be resolved privately, others know with anguish that they will not be taken care of in case of need. The crisis of equity and justice is structurally at the base of the health crisis. You can't face one if you keep the other. In a pedagogical level, to transform our way of teaching in its form and methodologies, also investigating how young people today learn through technology and what are the new pedagogical contracts that we must generate to define what is expected of a student and an academic in a mixed modality. The third and the last idea, the resilience and sustainability management. The resilience of communities, that is, their ability to transform a problem into an opportunity, depends to a large extent on the sustainability of the relationships with the environment. This, applied to universities, means how can we be resilient if we are just trying to be sustainable? The crisis is also within. The financial consequences on students have been a concern for the public mission, and we have assumed it with resources that make us more vulnerable as an institution due to the financing model in which we find ourselves. The relations of power between the states, of participation in the decision-making spaces are strained. Without participation in power, there is no identity, and it is our new problem with students. The problem becomes imperative for a public institution that requires building national identity. There is also a crisis of our way of structuring ourselves as institutions. Horizontally, more integration and articulation is required between the vice-rectories and between the central and local levels. That means that higher education is no longer a more student academic issue, more of research or output, but it is an integrated experience that must therefore be managed integrated. Thus, the pandemic came to show that what was once an educational problem today becomes a problem of well-being and quality of life. Some final thoughts and reflections, and this came out in the work of these 2 days. The pandemic is a unique opportunity to learn at the same historical time in all societies of the world. We could learn that the body itself does not end where the skin ends, but we are a collective body to which the same things can happen. The consequences of our actions impact others, so we are interconnected even with those we do not know. Third, we can learn that to take care of others, you must first take care of yourself. Then, to take care of yourself requires more than awareness. That is necessary to stop and stay in the present. That we must define what is priority when everything cannot be done. That hacks are needed to survive. That physical health is not separate from mental health. That we must identify what is essential to face. Collectivity, system, interdependence, responsibility, self-care, prioritization, affective relationship, corporeality, essentially, and presence are the message of a virus that does nothing more than awaken the awareness of the relationship between the living and its environment and the deepest sense of the common good and good living. If that turns into a disaster, it's not the virus' fault. Our universities have the historic opportunity for more inclusive, careful, resilient, ultimately society, and environmentally conscious generational ways. And that will not be done only by modernizing our way of teaching and working. we need to make available our physical space and relationships so that the new generations have a different relationship between them and our territories, and between them and knowledge, and biological, emotional, psychological, and social well-being as a common good. Our functions are now also to provide protection inserted in a network to generate different fields of knowledge that allow us to face more complex problems and study and understand what happens in the new society. Universities need to make visible the problems that the different social actors face to rebuild their lives, not reproduce inequalities, not to transform estrangement into abandonment, fulfill a role of trust and mediation. In short, humanize education, so that educational relationships are irreplaceable and people from different territories, functional conditions, genders, classes, and generations are all in a quality university experience. All this involves dialogue, communication, participation, identity, knowledge, and recognition. Surely, if I ask each one of you present, what is the reason why you want to continue being part of the university, despite all the difficulties? Each one will reach a deep emotional and binding reason: pride, commitment, self-realization. In that, we can meet again between the different generations, because there may be young students, there may be adult professors and staff, there may be senior authorities, but we are all university people. We must then not lose that great wealth of identity. The great value of being a university member is what will save the continuity of our classrooms and corridors. Let's work then so that the changes in the teaching modalities do not affect the conversation, the setting of expectations, the planning of the point we want to reach. The virus can be controlled, but after its passage, our university no longer and should not be the same as before. I invite you then to share your concerns and opinions about what is happening to us to create together a path of transformation towards more egalitarian, fair, caring, inclusive, and sustainable universities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sonia, for this important, passionate speech. There are so many points for reflections, and thank you very much. Now I'm glad to introduce our next speaker, Donatella Strangio. Donatella comes from Rome, from the University La Sapienza. She is a full professor of economic history, but she has a truly international spirit. She was one of the participants, as I told you before, to the first forum. And today, Donatella will share some consideration on COVID and a European project she is involved in. Please, Donatella.
Thanks a lot, Maria Laura. I have some brief presentation. Oops.
È condiviso, Donatella?
No, non l'ho condiviso. Ecco da qua. No. Voilà. Thanks. Non è questo. Eccola. No, no, era quella sbagliata. The wrong, the first presentation. Yeah. Ok. Voilà. Ecco. Okay. I'm sorry. Thanks to the digital presentation of Sonia. I'm sorry for this. And I fully agree with her analysis about the role of the university. Mine instead, as also suggested by Professor Maria Laura Bolognesi, for Sapienza, it will make a quick focus on the aspect, and that is the push for greater cooperation between teachers, professors, and not only national ones. And the pandemic has paradoxically broken down the barriers in hundreds of ways. Just a few words about how Sapienza has reacted to COVID immediately after the close of Italy. In 2 days, the first distance courses started with a larger participation of the students, and Sonia talked about the work together, the face-to-face is important. And digital equipment has been and is being implemented. Participation in blended as like this symposium. Mode is also envisaged for this academic year, and even if the university is striving especially towards Italian students who are less problematic than foreign students to attend lessons face-to-face. And the always very active academic body has strengthened and enhanced internationalization and cooperation. I bring my experience that make use of these new digital tools in the context of 2 European projects and 1 international, and 2 of which are linked to COVID. And this one is this one project that names Coronavirus Vulnerabilities and Information Dynamic Research and Modeling. This is a COVID form at a glance, 16 partners, and these projects start on November 2021 and until October 2024. And this is the principal outcomes, but very briefly I present you. What's COVID-informed project? COVID-informed project, as I wrote in this figure, analyze the promising practice and the consequences in target communities through case studies focusing on the impact on vulnerable populations such as frontline healthcare workers, as said before my colleague Sonia, older people, homeless persons, ethnic minorities. A driving up on intersectionality theory, a complete system analysis, and the project conducts an interdisciplinary critique of COVID-19 responses and their unintended socioeconomic impact of the levels of government, public health, community information, inclusive communication and misinformation. And this COVID project assess of responses in multi-level governance framework in a cross-country comparison, index and model relevant dimension, and develop on online portal guidelines and toolkits for stakeholders in the governmental, public health, and civil society. This is the provenience of 16 partners, provenience from 11 countries. There are 5 universities, 7 practitioners and research organizations, 4 industry, a small medium enterprises from medical and security sectors. And this project have a multidisciplinary approach, combining expertise in sociology, public health, economics, migration study, anthropology, and so on. And the principal objective of this project is analyze and response across how European Union 27 countries and apart the United Kingdom, but we have a partner, the United Kingdom, response to COVID-19, index and model relevant dimensions of health, socioeconomic, political, and community, compare, select regional, local responses, assess the impacts of national, regional, local response on human behavior, social dynamics, and physical and mental health. Also implement pilot case studies in select European Union and also non-European countries, develop policy guidelines, and integrate also the project parameters, data flow, research finding, case studies assessment. And this is worth playing, but it is very important for the methodology. Hard and soft system design, mixed methods, case studies, and triangulation of intersecting vulnerabilities, utilization quantitative and qualitative and hybrid methods, innovative and creative theories and methods, and risk assessment model and repository development, building of risk assessment models with both qualitative and quantitative data. This is the milestones of our project that with the COVID, we posted in October 2024, as I said before. And expected outcomes, we have bi-monthly reports and guidelines. We can see these reports, blog, and knowledge repository just in this moment in our web, and also crossed by the different social science, social media. Impact, the aspect of this project, improve the resilience, as Sonia talked before in a good speech. The resilience, well-being, and mental health of the population frontline workers contribute to a better understanding of the impact, effectiveness of the public health preparedness and response, prepare holistic assessment of the social, economic, and political impacts, and contribute to holistic public health, and provide health authorities, and so on. We have completely, but I'm sorry, we have also another project with the second project, international project, with 2 other universities, and the title of this project is Leveraging Learning Agility and Organizational Crisis Management to Transition Through Crisis. And this is a project in 3 years with the University of Illinois, l'Università Nazionale della Colombia, and Sapienza University of Rome. And this other project examines how universities have responded and are responding to the pandemic crisis. In particular, we have launched a survey between the 3 universities and among students in the same business management sector. And we also made several interviews in person with teachers and students. And we are now using a multi-level analysis to be able to synthesize the results obtained. And the crisis in our studies not be seen as a negative, but represents a turning point to change the economic system and make it more efficient. And this is what is happening, starting with the changes in the university environment and the different policies approach. And if you want any other aspect of these two projects, please do not hesitate to answer me, to make me a question, or write me for other particularly of these two projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donatella. And it's my pleasure now to introduce Professor Pedro Buchon from Catholic University. He is also the Vice President for Research at the Catholic University. And the floor is yours, Pedro.
Thank you so much, Eduardo, and all the organizers of this seminar. I'm so happy that we have been able to succeed in developing this seminar today. So I will share my screen so I can build on the previous presentations to highlight what are the initiatives under this frame that has been depicted previous to my presentations, which establish many of the reasonings and thoughts that have been present within our institutions and in conversations between institutions nationwide and also internationally. So I'm going to give now an overview how we have put in practice different activities at Catholic University, UC Chile, in order to give an idea or demonstrate how this reasoning can be put into practice in order to take advantage of technology on the one hand, and on the other hand, to really be able to understand how to incorporate this new mindset and protocols in action, because at the same time, as you all know, we as universities need to really see how really to retake the activities within our institutions. And this is a very, very critical challenge. So I'm going to show some examples about how we have been implementing these activities within our university. And towards the end, I will also explain a little bit why I think universities have been considered nowadays with such a high recognition that was previously stated by the first speaker. So we can give an idea how instrumental have been in our country universities in order to face the pandemic. So the first aspect I wanted to refer to is just absolutely considering all the previous comments of speakers, is that in order to define a policy within our institutions to retake activities, we have defined different pillars that have been implemented like for more than a year nowadays, which have considered the following steps and criteria: self-care, vaccination, and testing. This has been a very relevant parameters to be included in our rationale within the institution. Flexibility. Flexibility by any means. Flexibility with respect to student education, with academics, with professionals, with administrators, with the way we are undertaking activities. Participation, this is a critical pillar as well. It's how we really convoke different actors in order to give the thoughts, the reasoning from their own perspective, to really develop policies and strategies to confront the pandemic. Gradual process. It's gradual. We cannot really move and change everything from night to day. That's impossible. So we have been implementing these activities since last year for several months, which allow us to be in a position nowadays that really, so to some extent, encourages us to really retake physical activities within our campus. And certainly permanent evaluation and adjustments. We really need to be constantly monitoring, understanding what is happening, and being very flexible at the same time. That's really, really important. And how we can adjust our protocols in order to really retake activities. So the strategy considered these 6 steps. First, the committee. It's composed by 35 different actors, including our rector, vice rectors, and member of this board, administrators, professional from the public health sector, from the medical experience, nurses, very, very important as well, student representatives, and among many other actors, which has been committed in developing a strategy since September last year. That is, we have accomplished our first birthday recently, 2 weeks ago. And we have met, I don't know, like more than 50 times since then in order to really constantly evaluate. As I was highlighting previously, it has been a very flexible and gradual return strategy. Communication is critical. It has to be co-created in order to really convey the adequate messages to the different stakeholders. With closeness, communication needs to be very close, very conscious about how the messages we are conveying to the community, and really to, with empathy, to try to understand the particular situation of the different members of the community. The implementation dynamics, it's multi-level and multi-sectoral. It means that we really need to convey messages to specific communities adequately, because they might differ from group to another. With an activity, follow-up activities on campus, we do about 100 monthly visits to different sites to understand what is happening, how is things progressing, is there any question about how really to implement measurements, and so forth. We have a screening activity that I will explain in the next slide, that is very critical in order to prevent symptoms to really prevent upon appearance of symptoms, and also to prevent, of course, contagious focus. Traceability programs with a lot of technology, QR codes, and so on. Vaccine campaigns as well. We have in our campus, we have some sites that are entitled to provide vaccination as well, thanks to our medical network too. And definitely, it's very, very important all the time to really to convey messages to the community, and really to take the most of the different members to provide feedback, and to be a very active part in this process. So this is some of the images about what you can see nowadays on campus. We maintain the distance. We have some very clear safety protocols. We have enabled new sites outside with adequate ventilation that allow really to retake activities, but really considering the different aspects that need to be undertook under consideration in order to avoid the expansion of the pandemic again. We are now at very low levels at national levels, and we would like to maintain them as such. Around 75% of the virus nowadays is Delta. So, you know, it's something of concern. We were attacked by the P1, which is the Brazilian one, which is also very contagious. So we are somehow used to the strength and the rapidness of transmission with the P1 variation from Brazil. So now I think we have understanding what might happen with the Delta. to a good extent, but still is very, very critical. And thanks to this, we have been able to implement these protocols that allow occupy physically the spaces, but considering really precautions. And we have even developed different activities nationwide. This hasn't stopped us to provide certain activities outside campus in order to really maintain to some extent the spirit of the community in action. Our strategy is very, very centered on really detecting any possible infection or contagiousness in our community. So we have a screening through mobile application that needs to be filled by any members of the community, and we have nurses around campuses that can follow up and guide in case of showing any symptoms, and we define very strict protocols that need to be maintained in order to avoid any expansion. Since more than a year, September last year, we implemented an action and safety plan, which is very important because with this action and safety plan, we have been able to maintain research activities since September last year. And it defines, density of occupation, protocols to develop research fields and teaching and so forth. So it hasn't stopped us to develop critical activities related to research and particularly to doctoral education, but according to the action and safety plan that we have implemented. And everybody needs to implement in order to develop any activities within the campus. And once you get this daily screening through authorization, you can get into the campus. And so this has helped us in order to really maintain and develop a follow-up, which has allowed us to undertake activities. And we have also developed assistance and plans to remote work facilities for adults that are caregivers or that have to take into consideration the maternity or the fatherhood as well. So really, of course, in the flexibility, we take into consideration those cases. And once you are getting into campus physically in action, you need to develop and follow certain guidelines that allow a safety return in COVID-19 times. So some aspect that we have developed here, we see in the pictures that they are more expressful than myself probably. So we can see that different activities can develop, outside or inside classrooms, or even we have also sport activities that are being developed by our students. It's very, very important. We have developed many studies with the psychological status of our students, and so sports and activities and sharing with other students, sharing with professors is a critical aspect of their development, particularly in the development step where they are. And we have paid particular attention in our first and second year students. But we have extended so far to different communities nowadays. So critical aspect, we have transformed face-to-face courses and the experience. We need to really understand what it means now to have the physical contact and how we can take the most of the technology and the different access to provide contents, and how we can intertwine this with the physical experience, and what is the meaning of the physical experience. So this is really the focus that we have been developing with our teaching and learning direction. We certainly keep on supporting and the academic momentum to funding the support and connectedness for students, innovation funds for the adaptation of activities and so forth, to provide resources and to provide means for our academics, for our students, for our professionals, in order to be able to cope with this extremely challenging new area and development. And certainly we have keep on enhancing the academic offer, and we have also increased the academic offers through minors and training courses designed for online environments, creation of new courses, remote courses, or hybrid flexible classroom and so forth. So really we have put a lot of effort, and this has been very, very demanding. Our academics are extremely exhausted because of this, but now I think we are in steady state. So really we can take advantage of this learning aspect that were implemented last year. So this semester we expect to have 75% of our students with at least a teaching activity on campus. And at present we have approximately 11,000 people on campus daily, considering professional administrators and students. So So this is a little bit an idea of what is happening with pitch innovation. Doctoral students, a critical focus. Critical focus on the political action that we have developed together with the University of Chile and University of Concepcion has been critical, talking to authorities, to ministers and so forth in order to provide flexibility and really to help students to develop their research. Yeah? So we have been very, very focused on extending financial support for late-stage students to finish their degrees. We have implemented remote and virtual candidacy exams and final thesis design examinations as well. This conversely has allowed us really to include a much more diverse and international group assessing the defense of our exams of our PhD students, which is, is the positive drawback of this initiative as the forum we're experiencing at present. We have prioritized state-sponsored safe passage document for students to allow access to research facilities. That's very important. The safety passage has been, we have prioritized our PhD students to get this possibility to maintain their research. And we have provided certainly special flexibility for mothers, fathers, caregivers, and students with health-related problems, as well as flexibility overall for groups, different groups. And this includes certainly it's not restricted to vulnerable groups only. Also, non-vulnerable groups are certainly addressed. Research under the same framework, we have been implementing flexibility and actions. We have negotiated with funding agencies for flexibility in the conditions for the fulfillment of projects, flexibility in the development of internal funds allocated for research and development. Certainly, and very important, number 3, development of a scheme for critical research to address COVID-19. We have been very critical actors, and this is one of the reasons why we have been so well perceived by population, I guess, and as well as providing permits to conduct critical research, support in realigning research efforts to fit the COVID-19 pandemic, so objective changes, flexibility in thesis development and so forth, in objectives for research funds from agencies. So we have been negotiating constantly with these universities I mentioned, but others. I mean, we have been very, very cohesively working together with the different vice presidents for the different universities in the country, as well as in the application for regular and new research development funds, which have been focused on COVID-19. So it has been very, very demanding for our professional, who has been really sort of bombed by this, not just the normal development of research, new fundings for COVID-19, plus the exception, plus the flexibility. So it has been really, really a very important effort. And I always recognize how professionals have been reacting so promptly and so and with excellence with these new demands. And as the previous speaker referred to, this has sort of somehow changed the way we interact, nationwide, the way we interact internationally as well. It has become, Chile is a very centralized country. Many things happen here in Santiago, and I must say that we now in the different meetings I'm participating, the voice of our regional universities is becoming much more present and active. The land is becoming much more even. This has strengthened us as a community. We have certainly highlighted interdisciplinary cooperation, but also understanding the realities of different institutions. And this has been a very important and fruitful sharing action that we have been developing. And also another aspect I wanted to highlight as well, as we have developed many activities that have helped us to really outreach in a different way. Yeah, we have developed lots of webinars like Artifying Your Home. Scientifying Your Home is another activity. Here we show the cycle that we have developed recently with our female researchers, yeah, with whom we have taken special consideration, as the previous speakers highlighted, because of the demands, because of the complexity of the situation we are facing. But this at the same time has provided us a platform to really get to communities that we were not getting before. You know, now we have a cycle, very beautiful, which is called research for elderly people. So we are developing methodologies to really get closer with science and technology and arts and humanities and social scientists to these communities. So we have been, to some extent, a company to people to really diversify their experiences at home as well. And I finish with these final slides, which somehow demonstrate why universities are becoming so trustful and key actors in the country. This is the National Social COVID-19 Roundtable that was convoked by our president. And here we can see in the image President Rector Vivaldi and Rector Sanchez from Catholic universities, among many other important actors. This was convoked in March last year, and we were asked at the university to lead very critical projects to help the country to really recover from this pandemic in different ways, like how we can help in increasing the testing, in providing modeling options for tracking situation, or how to improve the equipment, the protection equipment of the different sectors, how we can really work better with communities, how we can help providing guidelines for education, for economical recovery, and many others. We as a university have played a major role because we have been leading many of the actions that were developed under the frame of this social COVID roundtable. And here I show you some of the different outputs that we have generated as a university in the domains of guidelines for national education, antivirus UV cameras, systems and protocols, and so forth, and critically as well, the vaccine development. We have in the process of we have 4 prototypes in COVID-19 development of our scientific leaders in that respect, and which increase and the different outputs that we have been developing as a university. And in consortium, many of the projects that we have developed, and I'm showing here, have been developed together with University of Chile, or with University of Concepcion, or University of Magallanes, or University of Antofagasta, and so forth. A lot of network, a lot of synergy, a lot of really aim to target together the different goals and the different challenges that this pandemic has been confronting to us. And one of the key ones, and I finish with this one, has been related to the vaccination. As I showed here at the end of this slide, at present, 73% of the total population in Chile is vaccinated. And if we consider the target population, this percentage increases to 88%, a huge number. And this was developed to a major extent thanks to the work of the universities, and particularly to the agreement that we signed as a university with Sinovac, with the same group that is developing our vaccine. They have a long-lasting cooperation, of course, as well within the university, but with other universities, particularly with Vice Rector Salazar, for instance. There is a very stretched cooperation as an academic, and again, under the frame of the Millennium Institute in Immunology and Immunotherapy. Well, thanks to this agreement that was signed in May last year between Catholic University and Sinovac.
Sorry, Professor.
We have been able to really develop phase 3 trials. And this is the final slide.
Oh, okay, so, sorry, because we are a bit late. So if you can come to the conclusion, thank you very much, and sorry for it.
Of course. This is the phase 3 trial that we have been developed that has allowed the country to get preferential access to vaccination, and that has allowed us to get to really this number. So really, thanks to this development now, we are going to recover the possibility of the country to have a vaccine plan together with the effort that has just been referred previously by Professor Joffre, that is developing University of Chile, to set up in the country a capacity that disappeared 20 years ago. So I just wanted to finish with this example, and with the different examples I referred to show why universities are becoming such critical actors in the country development, and why we have been recognized as such a trustful organization. So thank you so much for the time and allowing me to share this experience. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move fast to the next speaker, Professor Luca Magali from the Politecnico di Milano. He's a professor at the School of Management and Engineering. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me just share my screen. Okay, I guess you can see my screen now. So I would like to present you the activity we have carried out at Politecnico and the way we have faced the pandemic situation. Well, first of all, I think we must be happy that after 1 year and a half of the pandemic, we are here in the University of Bologna. We were being able to travel all from Chile and from other cities of Italy to stay here together. If you think what happened in February 2020, Milan and Lombardy region was one of the first region affected in Europe. So at Politecnico di Milano, we had to face the situation in really the first weeks of the pandemic. So we suddenly closed the campus and we moved to the online, directly online exams and directly the semester. The semester, we're starting the last week of February, and we started without any delay. So we're very proud of that, and we continue working on that. Then we discovered that apart from the fact that we are engineers, architects, and designers, we had also to face with the social aspect, with the psychological aspects related with the teaching and research activity. We were able to close the campus just 2 months due to the Italian rules. And then we were able to open the laboratories again for the research activity, and then slowly to come back to the activity in presence. Nowadays, we must be more than happy because we started the teaching activity last week, and we have all the students in presence, meaning that for the Master of Science, we have 30% of students that are foreigners because our Master of Science is in English. And we have foreign students in our classroom. The value of being there, participating to the activity, being able to visit the laboratory is very high. So we learned a lot about the possibility of the online activities, but we are also now trying to push the value of staying together, sharing common experiences, and also the possibility to exploit the laboratories that are key value for in engineering and technical university. Of course, we have also pushed a lot of the digital transformation. So we have a lot of classes and activities that are nowadays digital, not only because we use Zoom or Teams or other tools, but because we have developed materials for digital activity. So happy of this situation, but of course it was a longer journey last year. So what I wanted to share with you is this web page that in the news This you can easily find it is a progress in research of Politecnico di Milano. And Politecnico di Milano decided to create this common space in which we collected all the researches that our researchers, professors did in the last years. I would like to highlight the fact that, especially for the technical aspect, for the engineering aspect, we had the possibility to contribute a lot. For instance, about research with a collaborative robot that can help speeding up the testing process of the PCR test. But then, of course, not only in the technical aspect, also in the economical analysis and the social analysis of the impact of the pandemic. So, with research on the economic activity. So, full screen. Yeah. I don't know if you can put full screen this. I mean, down. Because this is a web page.
Ah, okay.
So, sorry. Okay. But you can see the I would like, for instance, to we can highlight then one interesting aspect. This is the Polikina receipt, and you can then watch the video. Polikina is the name of our alcohol gel, of our alcohol product to clean hands, etc. It's called Polikina because in Italy, Amuchina is the name of one famous alcohol liquid to clean hands. So nothing related with China in the name. And we were very proud. So in the first month of the pandemic, we started producing our alcohol gel that is now used in the university. In the first month of the pandemic, we started testing masks for companies in Lombardy region, starting producing masks because we had a shortage in Italy about masks. So we were very proud of this contribution and proud then to be able to ask again to the student to come to our campus. So I would like just to close this small presentation. First of all, please visit this webpage to be updated about the research, because we hope we are out of the pandemic, but probably we have still to investigate some issues and to cope with some problems. Then if I can say, so in this 1 year and a half, I spent about 8 months in Chile, traveling anyway. So I had experience to live the pandemic situation in Italy and Chile. And I guess we must be proud that both countries did a very good job, are doing a very good job in this pandemic situation. Probably the two countries are the ones that were most impacted in number of persons affected, but we were very good. We did very good in the vaccination process, as already mentioned by the colleagues. So I guess we must be happy. We are here together after 1 year and a half, and proud that our countries are doing a good job. Also, thanks to the activity of the research community. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So now we would like to close this first part of the session before leaving the floor to the greetings from the authorities. We would like to close with some final remarks, but from Rector Ennio Vivaldi. Just to
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, very, very brief. Well, what I really want to do is just to thank very especially all the wonderful, wonderful hospitality that we have enjoyed here in in Bologna is an example in this difficult time how fluid, beautiful the relationship has been. Most special thanks to Rector Bertini, and most special thanks to Maria Luisa, who has done an extraordinary job, and we feel so grateful toward what she has done. And the same thing here, Eduardo Vera has a lot of responsibilities, and certainly all the people at the University of Chile and Italy has been a tremendous help. Just for closing, as they have asked me, just perhaps 2 points of reflection. One is to think that perhaps the most repeated words all these months have been uncertainty. And just to mention that universities have always lived in uncertainty, that knowledge is intrinsically something that you should never be sure of. You should never be arrogant about what is your present explanation of phenomena, and you are always open to new ideas and to revise whatever you have been feeling. So I think that for universities, uncertainty is part of our, so to speak, essence of our life. Universities are above all an atmosphere, a community, an environment, and that's what we have to face. I don't want to be self-referential, but if you will excuse me, I can put myself as an example of how uncertain life can be. I entered to study medicine when I was 17, and I look forward to when I would be a doctor and my expectation to the time when I would be a doctor. And actually, I had to graduate as a doctor on December 1973. Well, in September that year, things happened that changed very much whatever I had expected for the time I would become a doctor, okay? But that's the life I had to face, okay? And I think that's true for everybody now, and I think that's the attitude we should have, okay? We are facing COVID, and this is just a starting point for a reflection, for thinking how the work would have been better to face COVID and so on. And the last point is just a quote, okay, and it comes from Darwin. One of the things that we've dealt with in this forum, and that we are very much engaged, is to rethink the people who thought about evolution. And a very, very important name there becomes Abate Molina from Talca, from Chile, who came later to Bologna and did a tremendous scientific career here. And this is in the scope of putting into value the very long stay that Darwin had in Chile, and that he himself claimed always that had been so important. But this is the point I want to make. One of the most beautiful things I have read to be said about Chile was written by Darwin, when he says that he makes a comparison, he makes a kind of a confrontation of what happens to a single family that loses his house, say in a fire or whatever, and how depressed they become, how down they go, okay? As opposed, as he was able to see in Concepcion, when an earthquake deals with the whole population, it's just the opposite, he says. The whole population, with a tremendous energy, with a lot of enthusiasm, they react with a tremendous sense of solidarity, and they face these dreadful events. So my last words are that I really hope that COVID will bring up the best of ourselves, of our feeling of solidarity, of brotherhood, and that we will end up doing what the university has always wanted to do, caring for each other. I think that's the most important, that we learn to care for each other. Thank you so much, and thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Rector Vivaldi. Now it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce Dr. Domenico Fornara from Ministero degli Esteri e della Cooperazione Internazionale. Again, a word that we have used a lot, cooperation. So, Domenico, please, the podium is yours for your remarks on the forum and the event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure to deliver a short message to this very important gathering. I hope you can all hear me well. So my name is Domenico Fornara, and I'm responsible for scientific and technological cooperation at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Italy. And indeed, I have to say that on our view, science certainly knows no borders, and therefore we are giving an increasing attention to the science diplomacy at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We are convinced that science is an absolute level playing field, an instrument of constructive dialogue, not only between countries, because of course science knows no borders, but also amongst the various actors of a single country. So therefore, we cherish the exchange of experiences between the academic society, the civil society, and the government, which has to somehow provide some addresses and also some resources to scientific cooperation. As Minister of Foreign Affairs, we're investing increasing energies in this endeavor. I'm pleased to say that recently we have doubled our network of scientific attachés in our embassies, including one position in Santiago, as you know. And we have signed quite a number of bilateral agreements with the most important partner countries worldwide, thanks to which we have co-financed over 1,000 bilateral scientific and technological cooperation projects in the last 5 years. We, of course, also participate as much as Chile in the most important multilateral research infrastructure projects. With Chile, we have an excellent cooperation alongside with long-standing brotherly political relations. From a bottom-up perspective, we have track of over 230 executive agreements between universities and research centers. These forms of cooperation are absolutely precious and provide great energy also to the G2G action, which we are trying to do our best to steer. In fact, in the last week, we held a very important bilateral working group with Chile that was co-chaired by our vice ministers of foreign affairs, and in which the scientific and technological dimension was particularly valued. I had the honor and the privilege to co-chair the session dedicated to research and innovation, together with Councillor Roberto Arauz, who I think will be delivering his message right after me from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Chile. And during this session, we have acknowledged a brilliant cooperation, and we are also negotiating ways to further scaling up our cooperation with Chile, eventually with a renewed bilateral executive program, thanks to which we hope we will be able to co-fund further projects presented by our research centers. During the discussions, we also received a very interesting and detailed presentation of this second edition of the Italy-Chile Academic Forum that was delivered by Professor Bolognesi from the University of Bologna and from Professor Vera from the University of Chile. And I'm very happy to see that despite the pandemic, not only the two universities were able to organize this gathering, but that a delegation, even if a small delegation, not as numerous as we would have liked, was able to travel to Italy, because I guess we're all a little bit tired of this video conferencing, and absolutely we are in need of a reprise of in-person meetings. Universities are absolutely critical assets for our society, because they are pivotal for the development of knowledge. So this kind of energy that comes up from the academic world is absolutely vital and extremely important for the government. So the discussions, I understand, were particularly lively and constructive, and I very much look forward to remaining in touch with the organizers in order to feed our science diplomacy strategy with the interesting suggestions that are arising from this kind of cooperation. So thank you very much for inviting me. It was an honor, and I really look forward to continuing this kind of exercises all together. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Exactly as you mentioned, I'm pleased to introduce now Mr. Roberto Arauz from the Division of Energy, Science, Technology, and Innovation of the Ministry of Affairs of Chile, and co-chair with you, Mr. Domenico, of the last bilateral roundtable on science and innovation, which we take the opportunity to thank the invitation that you gave us to explain this activity. And now we can say that we are completing that activity in a very, very difficult but very successful way. So please, Roberto.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'm very pleased and honored to be here at the closing of this so important forum to share some words with my esteemed colleague, Conseiller Domenico Fornara. All that has been said here is quite right, quite true. There is a difficult world today to face so many challenges, and uncertainty, as our rector of the University of Chile has just said, is one of the factors that in some way mark the field where we are playing with, and where science and technology and innovation are so important, and so they have an increasingly important role in foreign policy. In that sense, the Directorate of Energy, Science and Technology, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in particular, we will maintain a strong commitment and permanent support to our university and all these efforts to improve and to deepen the relationship with so important countries as Italy. As my colleague has just said, it's clear that we have a very deep and dynamic academic relationship. So as Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we will continue to support all these efforts. We congratulate you. We encourage you to continue with this process of collaboration in academics and in investigation and all the science that good science that you are doing. We, as I said, face so many great challenges ahead. But all that has been said here, all the good presentation that has been made, reflects precisely that this is the way to go ahead. And Chile and Italy has set in a good example, and that has to be supported and fostered forward. This is the future, what we're dealing with. So you can count with all our support as Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and we again greet and thank all the efforts to this successful forum, all the effort that was involved in the traveling in these very difficult times, and I hope we'll see this replicate in the future. I understand in the 2 years more we will have another one hosted by, in this case, by Chile. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And now I would like to introduce Patricia Rios. She is the acting ambassador of the Chilean embassy in Rome. So I'm very thankful for having Patricia here with us. So please, Patricia.
I must ask you for excuse because I prepare my closing remark in Spanish. A longer version I have sent to the rectory yesterday.
in Italian version, the Italian version es. Ok. Es para mí un honor poder acompañarlo para culminar este segundo foro académico, Chile-Italia. El trabajo compartido de las academias cumple con la misión de universalizar el conocimiento. Las nuevas tecnologías de la comunicación impulsan la globalización de la actividad universitaria en todos los ámbitos del saber, entre los que destacan las investigaciones en energía, en medio ambiente, cambio climático, biomedicina y salud, que en estos últimos años han consultado la preocupación de la ciencia y por ende las universidades. Al clausurar este segundo foro académico, Chile-Italia, debo expresar que el trabajo conjunto realizado y proyectado hacia el futuro produce una gran esperanza. Ni las pandemias, ni las revoluciones sociales llamadas estallidos en nuestros pagos sudamericanos, ni la agonía de la tierra, paciente grave del cambio climático, podrán detener nunca el trabajo de las universidades, y más bien estimularán la búsqueda de caminos y vericuetos que permitan enfrentar con éxito tan graves males y promover sin tregua el desarrollo económico, social y humano. Las universidades han persistido y persistirán en sus nobles propósitos de transferir saberes. Esa linda palabra con la que le gusta englobar el conocimiento a nuestros pueblos originarios. Transferir saberes, digo, a las nuevas generaciones, fortalecer sus capacidades y facilitar la aplicación de los conocimientos y tecnología para la solución de problemas críticos que inquietan a la humanidad. La reciente noticia de la Universidad de Chile y la farmacéutica italiana reitera han firmado un acuerdo para cimentar las bases para un centro de biotecnología destinado a la producción de vacunas. En el Parque Karen indica que nuestro optimismo no es vano. Se estima que dicha institución podría producir 100 millones de dosis anuales destinadas a Chile y al subcontinente americano, tan castigado por este flagelo. Iniciativas como esta deben multiplicarse como racimos de viña en las laderas de nuestros montes, chilenos e italianos. Son tantos los retos que nos impone la realidad cotidiana que el trabajo en solitario no sería capaz de superarlos. El esfuerzo conjunto desarrollado en estas jornadas nos evidencia cuán pujante es la voluntad de cooperar de nuestros centros académicos. Les deseo persistencia y éxito en esta empresa. Ahora solo me tomo unos minutos para contarles como un secreto. Yo todos los días trabajo bajo la tutela de quien es, tal vez, el eslabón perdido entre la Universidad de Bolonia y mi querido país. Lo conocí físicamente en la embajada y experimenté un amor a primera vista. Lo debí, y él me acompaña en todas las jornadas. Me respondió con un gesto erático, pero yo lo interpreté como un sí. Se trata del abate José Ignacio Molina, encarnado en un busto olvidado en un depósito de la embajada, de donde lo rescaté para ponerlo a mi lado. Todos los días le hablo, todos los días me escucha. Admiro de don Juan Ignacio Molina su demostrada capacidad para abordar los temas en profundidad y la disciplina que asimiló con absoluto autodidactismo. La física de Newton, la bioquímica de Boerhaave, la zoología de Wilson, la botánica de Tournefort y Linneo, la mineralogía y geología de Baller y Beaumaré, las altas matemáticas, en fin, la filosofía de Gassendi y Descartes, la astronomía, la historia, la geografía. Eran sabios en todo, incluso en idiomas. Además del latín y el griego, dominaba el francés, el italiano y el mapudungun, la lengua de nuestro pueblo mapuche. Era un erudito en toda la regla y, sin embargo, me parece que está injustamente olvidado incluso en nuestra propia patria. El historiador chileno Francisco de Encina decía que el abate Molina era un sabio que dejó su tierra natal para ser ciudadano del mundo por su intelecto y chileno por su corazón. Molina era un sabio europeo que por azar nació en los montes de Huaraculén. 16 años después de la muerte, en 1845, Antonio Santagata, su discípulo y luego colega en la Academia de Bolonia, al leer en esa institución una disertación sobre el sabio, recordará así sus cualidades. Comenzaré por deciros que Molina, a quien desde luego calificaré como un hombre superior, nació en una ciudad de la América Meridional que antiguamente se llamaba Penco y ahora se llama Concepción, la ciudad de nuestro rector, ¿no? Sobre su sapiencia afirmaba: este precioso tesoro de conocimientos lo adquirió bajo el influjo de su propia inspiración. Él mismo se abrió el camino que lo habría de conducir al templo de la sabiduría y eligió el modo seguro de recorrerlo con mayores ventajas. En 1767, con la expulsión de los jesuitas, el joven Juan Ignacio debió partir al exilio, dejar sus votos para devenir en un sacerdote secular, el abate Molina, como fue conocido, y como tal sería distinguido en todo el mundo. Su interés en el conocimiento lo lleva en 1773 a la ciudad de estudios más prestigiosa de la época, Bolonia. Para entonces, su ilustre universidad contaba con 654 años de existencia y le imprimía a su sede el carácter de ciudad docta. Incluso sus monedas portaban el lema Bolonia docet, Bolonia enseña. En Bolonia, ciudad que amó y sirvió como su propia patria, escribió su obra Compendio de la Historia Geográfica Naturale e Civile del Reino de Chile, de 1776. Texto transcrito íntegramente en una suerte de enciclopedia de 43 volúmenes, publicada en Madrid en 1801, llamada El Viajero Universal o Noticias de un Mundo Nuevo y Antiguo, cuyo tomo 14 recoge la obra del abate Molina. En 1782 se publica parte del ensayo sobre la historia civile del Chile y en 1787 la segunda parte. Sus escritos y reflexiones llamaron la atención de los sabios de la época, al punto que una eminencia como von Humboldt lo visitaba. Falleció el 12 de septiembre de 1829. Cuentan los biógrafos que se apagó añorando su patria, pero su nostalgia le expresó en italiano. Oh, quella acqua dei corgeli. No tengo duda que ustedes son los herederos del abate Molina, los buscadores de la verdad, los investigadores de la ciencia y de la preservación, los eternos luchadores del conocimiento en beneficio de la humanidad y de su hábitat. Como también lo ha definido Italia, que ha concentrado su acción como presidente del G20 en las 3 P: People, Planet and Prosperity. Nuestros científicos, los chilenos e italianos, entreguen su alma y corazón a estas tareas. En este nuevo siglo, conviene recordar a estos observadores del cosmos, los capaces de ver que agua y aire, tierra y fuego, todo está integrado en nuestro planeta. Luego de tanta ciencia especializada, estamos recuperando esas sabias miradas que todo lo vinculaban, y nada puede simbolizar la vida como el agua. Recordemos que donde hay agua, la vida es inevitable. En el 2023, como ya se habrán notado, cumplirá 250 años desde la llegada del abate Molina a Bolonia, donde entregó medio siglo de su vida a la universidad. Estamos apenas a tiempo para rendirle un homenaje a su memoria. Los invito a pensar cómo recordarlos. Muchas gracias.
Ahora para Ríos, sus reflexiones en torno a la abate Molina no podrían reflejar más la motivación que existe en nuestras universidades por esos temas que históricamente él impulsó y que ha llegado el momento de rescatar, y esto ha sido también una prioridad altísima para nuestro rector y una motivación enorme para todos nosotros venir. Así que muchas gracias por sus reflexiones tan interesantes. Now it's my pleasure to introduce Ambassador Mauro Batocchi in Chile. He is the ambassador of Italy in Chile, and I would say he's a member of this forum because he was a keynote speaker of the first forum in Concepcion, and since then he has been part of the organizing effort permanently. So thank you so much, Ambassador Batocchi, for your contribution, and the floor is yours.
I just want to add something about this is very important, one of the main driver and triggers of this event. So thank you for coming, and we are truly looking forward to your remarks. Thank you.
No, let me thank you warm-heartedly, all of you, for contributing to this successful event, for making it so intense and so useful for the development of your scientific cooperation, as well as for the deepening of the Italian-Chilean relationship. As Professoressa Bolognesi and Professor Vera said, indeed, it was a complex process to try and organize this event during a pandemic, but thanks to your grit, your stamina, I think we did it. You did it. And this is the best example of the fact that the pandemic has stopped us to some extent, but the ingenuity and the creativity of people is strong enough to make us, to motivate us, and to make us able to look forward to new challenges. So let me first thank you, Professoressa Bolognesi and Eduardo Vera, for your incredible effort, and of course, all of the universities and all of the scientists that took part in this incredible effort. Definitely from the point of view of the bilateral relation, Italy-Chile, there's no better outcome than the success of this event, which is, as mentioned, the second edition. We look forward to having a third edition and fourth, and make it really an important milestone in the scientific cooperation between the two countries. As Councillor Fornara said, from the Italian point of view, and which was reflected by Director Arauz as well from the Chilean point of view, the diplomacy of the 21st century is more and more based on brain power. So science and technology on the one hand and culture on the other hand are the real drivers of how we can rethink our bilateral relations. I see your work as really a foundation for the new Italian-Chilean relationship. And I'm not talking out of pure rhetoric. This is really because I really believe that in the era where we live now, the human capital is key in a bilateral relation and in an international relation in general. The efforts that are now currently underway to create a center for the manufacturing of vaccines in Chile, vaccines and highly developed biotech products, coming out of the cooperation between Chilean and Italian organizations, public and private, is an example of what I mean. We are not talking only about pure science, which is already extremely important, but also of how pure science can drive development, economic development, human capital development in both countries. As mentioned, the pandemic has highlighted new aspects of our life. On the one hand, we discovered that we are so fragile. At the same time, we have understood that the distance is far less important than we thought. And this is a great advantage from the point of view of the Chilean-Italian relations, as you demonstrate with this event. It is so important that now the fact of being away, 12,000 kilometers away, does not really matter so much if there is a strong willingness to work together. And I do hope that more and more Italian and Chilean scientists, researchers will be working together, also from a distance, on specific projects. Another takeaway of this pandemia is, again, the importance of the human dimension. And science has always been based on the human dimension, in the sense that what really counts at the end of the day is the trust in the collaboration between scientists. It's collaborative. Science is a collaborative effort with a big dose of humility attached to it, because scientists, unlike other people, are aware that their conclusions are always provisional. And so every effort to understand the world must be constantly updated and reviewed. So networks are key for the development of this effort, our joint Italian-Chilean effort. And that's why one of the tasks of our new wonderful scientific attaché we have at the embassy, Professor Massimo Turatto, a distinguished astronomer, is to try and promote the creation of a network of, first of all, of scientists in Chile who are connected with Italy, and then possibly a network that goes beyond the ocean and reaches out to scientists in Italy who are connected with Chile. I think if we manage to create this network, and this could be also part of this effort to give continuity to the Italian-Chilean Forum in its biennial dimension. So I really encourage you to help Massimo in his effort to bring about this new project. The future is made of human collaboration, human networks, and distance is no longer so important. I think these are good reasons for all of us to be optimistic about the future. And after looking at the future, maybe a look at the past, to say that I'm very thankful to Patricia Rios for mentioning Abate Molina. I think Abate Molina could be the icon of this collaboration, scientific collaboration Chile-Italy. He's a perfect representative of this joint reverence for science and knowledge in this international dimension. So let's keep Abate Molina as our compass, and let's work hard also in the coming months to give continuity to this incredible exercise. Again, thank you so very much to all of those who contributed to the success. And again, I want to mention anyone more than, otherwise I would risk making diplomatic faux pas. Maybe one word for our Rettore Ennio Vivaldi, because of his Italianness. He's so Italian, as everybody knows. And obviously, from our point of view, from the point of view of Italians, this is a total blessing that he is in Chile working on science, working on technology, working on the bilateral cooperation. Thanks to all of you, and let us work together also in the coming months and years to make this project a stable relationship for a better future with a bilateral Italian-Chilean perspective. Thank you very much. Grazie mille a tutti e buon lavoro.
Grazie. Thank you very much, Ambasciatore Battocchi. We are a bit late, so I don't know, we should truly close, but maybe I would like just to point out that we have been inspired today by this very last session. People from here saying yes, shaking their hands, shaking their heads. And no, I would like to just to point out that one of the words which has been mentioned several times is a humanity. And yes, I hope that this crisis could be like a restart toward a new focus on humanity and also on the value of the university, which are centered on the human person. So with that, Eduardo, if you want to say the very last words.
I think everything has been said. So thank you, everyone. Grazie mille.
Grazie. Muchas
Thank you very
gracias.
much.